Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Training, Learning, and Development community. We have another community showcase scheduled for this morning with our guest, Jenny Hill. Thanks, everybody, for any of you that pop in this morning. I'm looking forward to this talk. One thing about Jenny, she's Canadian, and she's our first Canadian community showcase guest. So
Maple Leaf.
Yeah, this is a huge accomplishment for us here at TLDC to have you on. Kind of makes us like a global international finally series, and I'm very interested in talking to you, Jenny. So there I was like kind of poring over your LinkedIn profile, and I'll tell you, one of the things that really kind of stuck out about you was you kind of have a passion for coaching and mentoring.
Yes. For sure.
And yeah, I like that.
One of the things.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. So
no,
can you talk a little bit more about that, about your coaching and mentoring?
Yeah, I think I discovered a little ways into my career that one of the things that really gets me excited is the opportunity to help other people. It's part of what brought me into learning and development. And when you're mentoring and when you're coaching other folks and you see that, with just a little nudge here, a little questioning there, they're able to get better at something. Like I literally just got goosebumps. Like that's the thing that gets me going. So just like, just a little tiny bit, like the capability of people is astounding to me.
Oh, so that's so being an L&D pro is probably just like you to the core, right? Because I hear that from other people too, that like like they know they're in the right place because it's when they're helping people like achieve their potential or just get better at what they're doing. That's how they know they're on the right track. And I know that there's like I can see that Toddy is in and Kim is in this morning already, and they're the same types of people, just so passionate about their learners and helping them. That's great. Okay, so and tell us a little bit more about what you do. Like, so you've got Jenny Hill, you've got your consultant, and then you're head of L&D for what was it, for Sun
Life US? Yep.
Right. Can you talk a little bit more about your background and what you do?
Yeah. So I've just come into this role that I'm in now. So I'm the learning and development manager for the US side of Sun Life, which is they're a global company, but they have a lot of their operations in Canada. So that's kind of how I came into that role. And really, historically, my roles have been I started out in L&D from the technology side of things, which is a little bit different. Like a lot of people come in, they were a subject matter expert and they became a trainer and that kind of thing. But for me, I started out in tech. I was, a web developer, and then I became a courseware developer, and then moved into L&D from that angle. So now I feel like I've come to like the best possible role for me in my sort of full-time day job, which is really focused on a lot of leadership development. So I'm focused on a large group of leaders across Sun Life US, which there's about 600 of them, who are all leading different large business groups and have lots of, really interesting challenges. And I'm about 2 months into this role, so still pretty new. But we've launched some new exciting leadership development programs. We're really kind of building up the options that are available to our leaders for accessing different learning opportunities and coaching and really a lot of cool different things going on. So it's been really exciting for me to come into this role because I've been angling at something like this for a long time, and now I'm finally here.
Wow. So working with, what exactly, what are you creating the content, or how are you facilitating the training for leaders in this instance?
Yeah, so we have a number of different offerings that we provide. We have a monthly, well, sometimes it's a little more frequently than that, but at least monthly learning series that's a sort of a webinar-based opportunity to focus on specific topics. So that I kind of help with the planning of and facilitation of, but I'm not always the person who's delivering that that learning experience. I have been, but it's not something where it's just the me show every month. Yeah. And then we also have a number of online resources that we provide. So curated playlists of material that are focused on specific leadership development topics that the leaders have come to us and said, you know, I need to know more about giving feedback. I need to know more about. So we've put together resources to help support those topics. And those are also aligned to our monthly program as well. And then on top of that, we've got some other additional things that we do for our leaders. So we're just launching a peer learning series. So similar to something like TLDC Cast, where we've got the opportunity to bring people together to learn from each other, and then, you know, have some additional takeaways on those topics that we're focused on. And then we're also looking at a coaching program that's actually ongoing right now, where we're connecting our leaders with coaches so that they can work on, you know, their individual development plans.
Wow, that's fascinating. That's fascinating. Toddie's asking, do you have like a, is it cadre of experts who come in for the webinar deliveries?
So I would say that yes and no. Like there are some folks that we have called on, you know, a couple of times on specific topics. Like, you know, we know so-and-so is the situational leadership, you know, they're the biggest nerd of that. So we're going to bring them in to talk about that topic. So in some cases that's true. In other cases, you know, what we've done is we've really created, and this was before my time even, a calendar of topics that really align to, you know, the yearly cadence of leadership requests. So the things that kind of come up over time, you know, every year in November, we're going to hear about, you know, giving feedback because that's when our year-end process starts, that kind of thing. So, so we've really targeted the resources to help support leaders as they're going through those processes. And also we're constantly gathering feedback from them too. So if we hear, you know, if we hear from kind of a critical mass, you know, I really need to know more about, like, for example, we're doing a session on mental wellness in the workplace this week because that's a really hot topic. And we've got a lot of folks who are really looking for some additional resources and help on that. So we've pulled in some amazing consultants with, like, you know, 15 years experience, you know, doing, you know, back to work plans and all those great things. So, so yeah, it's a really interesting program in that it's not perfectly defined and, you know, delivered. But I think what it does is it, you know, it has the ability to adapt to what the leaders need.
Yeah. And so Kim's asking, your speakers are external then? This is fascinating to me. So your speakers.
So yes and no, right? So we do bring in external speakers sometimes. Right. But other times, and I would say, like, we tend to, you know, shop here first. So if we've got an expert within, you know, our Sun Life, you know, panel of amazing people, then we'll pull on those folks. But there are times that we'll bring in external speakers as well.
Yeah, because I've always wondered. I've toyed with the idea of, like, how come, you know, organizations don't do their own internal version of like a TLDC, like a peer learning experience? It looks like that's what you guys are doing, so it's good to hear, because I think that it's totally valuable, and so I'll probably ask you more questions about that just because it's really
and vice versa, right? Like there's you know, there's always opportunities to learn from the things that other folks are doing, for sure.
Absolutely. So let's get into some of these questions. We're kind of talking along those lines anyway, but is there anything specific you can tell us about what you're working on right now?
So yeah, we've got a couple of those leader series events coming up in the next week and a half. So our mental wellness session is coming up on Friday. So we had a prep session for that. So we're getting ready for that session. And then we've got another session on people development that's coming up next week. So those are kind of hot. We've got our coaching program going on too. So some logistical things going on with that at the moment, just trying to make sure everybody's got their matches and is ready to go into their coaching conversations.
Right.
So I think really the leadership development program is the biggest piece of work that I'm working on right now. And it's been awesome.
So are you doing like the program and doing like the actual, the technical stuff, like whatever the delivery platform, or what are the pieces that you're involved in exactly? Or is it just the subject matter? Or?
So I'm a little bit of everything. And part of this is just a product of my skill set, because I've got a background in, in facilitation and e-learning, all these different things. I'm happy to just jump in and do whatever needs doing. And that's kind of been what I've done with this program as well. So I've put together content and I've facilitated sessions. I've, helped put together the overall program of material and helped to choose the topics and where they fall. I've worked on bringing in speakers. I'm the person with the webinar platform. So I'm, setting up and making sure that the webinars are running the way they're supposed to run. So I'm doing a little bit of producing here or there. So all those different bits and pieces. And then for some programs, I'm, someone else has designed it and I'm facilitating. So I've got a little bit of everything, which is actually where I love to be. Right. Because I've had the opportunity to kind of touch everything in the L&D space, and I like a lot of it. So it's nice to be able to do all those different things as they come up.
Geez, Jenny, it's like you're pretty much describing everything that I do for TLDC. So
yeah,
it's kind of freaking me out. So out of all of these things, right, all of these things, what's the favorite part of your job? You kind of went over it already, but can you answer that? What's the favorite part of what you do right now?
I think my favorite thing is when I get to see the impact of what I've done. And I think that's why I'm in the company and the role I am now, because historically I've worked on like professional services teams or, in more of a consultant role where you're doing like just the design and development or just the delivery of a program. And then the evaluation bit gets left to the client. Right. And that always kind of was like sad for me, because I want to see like, did it work? Are we happy? And beyond just like customer satisfaction, I never really got to see the impact of things as clearly as I can when I'm working internally. Right. Because I can look back at what we did 6 months ago and see, oh, that actually made a change for this individual, or people come to me with feedback and say, I remember what you said in that session, back in, June of last year, and it really stuck with me. And that kind of stuff, like that's what really like keeps me waking up every morning.
That's fascinating. I think that, since we've been doing these episodes, that's pretty much the main thing that everybody has how they've answered that, this question is just the impact that they're having on their learners. Joe Ganshi yesterday was talking more also about the variety of things that he gets to do is something that he really, really loves about his job. And often I think that we kind of complain about that type of thing, like that we have to do too many things, but at the same time, I think we kind of like it, just having that variety.
Yeah, and I've been in more specialist roles and, enjoyed it to a degree, but I really like the opportunity to see that bigger picture and just kind of get my hands in wherever I think it'll make the biggest impact.
I love it. I love it. Is there anything that you wish you had known before you started out?
Before I started out, I think the biggest thing is that there's so much more to learn. And I think that's always been something that's kind of been in the back of my head. But, when you're first starting out in a career like this, and I don't know if this is universal, but for me, you see these people who are, in positions that you'd like to be in, and you sort of position them in your head as like, these are the experts. They've done the things, they know it all. That's the end game. But having the opportunity to talk with some of the, some of the biggest nerds in the industry, and knowing that like literally everybody is still, learning new stuff every day is so valuable to me, because that's, it's kind of what brought me here.
Right.
So I think I wish I would have known that there's not a top end. There's still more to go. Like you can turn this into a long path. You don't just, sort of become a instructional designer and that's it. You just design instruction. Like there's always more to do.
Right. Gosh. I mean, it all just seems to change so fast. Even, since I started out like in this space in the early 2000s, it's, I guess almost 20 years or so. It's just constantly evolving, and it's because technology has such a huge impact on it. And, there's just so many different things that can change everything. Is there anything right now, if you could have a tool or service that you don't currently have, what would that be? Is there anything like that?
I think for me, I'm starting to bump up against some of the limitations of Zoom. So, we're running some sessions where like we're going well over 500 participants. We'd love to have more than 50 breakout rooms, and we're just like, oh, is this going to work? So I feel like if I had some better solutions to some of those challenges, I think that would be awesome, because as it is right now, we're, trying to sort it out and put it together. And it's one of those things that's, it's hard to test. Like, right. How do I test what it's going to be like with 500 people without 500 actual people? So I think for me, having some good solutions to those problems would be helpful right now.
Wow. That's interesting. I guess that's a good problem to have.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Like, people are so, so interested in, coming, which, I can't be sad about that, but, I can be a little sad if I'm worried about whether my breakout activity is going to work or not.
Have you been using Zoom from the start, or
so Zoom is what we use internally at Sun Life. So I've gotten pretty familiar with it. But historically, like in other roles, I've used WebEx or Adobe Connect. And it's funny, there's still some Adobe Connect devotees within Sun Life as well, because that was the platform that was used prior to the transition to Zoom. And I'm like, it's kind of funny. I used to really like it, but I'm actually not a big fan anymore of Adobe Connect.
Yeah.
Like, it's nice that you can sort of set up all your stuff ahead of time, but I just find the experience is less, I don't know how to say. It doesn't look or feel as nice.
Yeah. There's just a lot to it. Almost like there's a lot of stuff that you kind of just don't really need. And I don't know. I mean, I used to help with, or with Adobe Connect when I was at the eLearning Guild, and it's like we just had to just focus on only on the things that we needed versus like all this other stuff. And Zoom seems to be a lot more like easier to kind of navigate and deal with.
Yeah, and I found ways to do a lot of the things I would have done in Adobe Connect. In Zoom, in some cases it's maybe a little clunkier, but just the ease of use from the participant standpoint is so valuable to me, because I think about the amount of time I spent explaining breakout groups in Adobe Connect versus, in Zoom. In Zoom, I'm just like, you're in, bye.
There you go. Yeah.
Whereas like, I remember I used to have like a whole 5-minute spiel.
Right, exactly. So, oh, that's a great point. I love it. It's one of the reasons why I picked this particular platform, because when we had started out, I was kind of like shopping, and I'm like, okay, this one is just really simple, and we want to focus on chat. I just wanted like kind of bare bones features, and so it just, I don't know. I think this is meant more for nonprofits and almost like entertainment and stuff, but it works well for what we do at TLDC. Is there a particular project that you're especially proud of that you can talk about?
Oh, there's so many things that I've gotten the opportunity to do. And there's one that I kind of come back to when I get asked questions like this. So this is going back to like my time in professional services, but I got to work on an onboarding program for space engineers. Ooh. So like the reason I'm proud of it is like selfishly because I got to learn a lot of cool stuff about space engineering. And I got to work with like really cool people. So yeah, so for me, that's the one I come back to a lot. I also got the opportunity to do some things like actual focus groups with with some of their employees, which is something that we didn't often get to do in that professional services space. It was more like, here's a deliverable and, please take it away and, pay us money. Yeah. But for that, like there was a lot more close partnership with the client, which I really liked. And is also part of why I got to, learn things about how satellites get made. So, so for me, that's the one I'm just like, I can't believe I got to work on that. Like, man, that was cool.
That's awesome. That's great to hear, Jenny. It kind of reminds me, Toddy used to work for iRobot. And so she used to get to work with like robots. And so it kind of reminds me of that. That's the situation. So who or what keeps you inspired?
Ooh. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think it changes over time based on, what it is, my goals are, or, what are some of the, hot topics in my life. But I think lately the things that are inspiring to me, like reading stories of people who are like polymaths. So people like Benjamin Franklin or whoever, like people who just kind of did a lot of different interesting things and built a lot of knowledge, because I think for me, that's kind of the aspiration. Like I'd like to be someone who's able to make an impact because of all the weird stuff I did, I guess. So I get interested in stories like that because it's a pathway I aspire to. So I get a little bit inspired by those types of stories.
That's great. Yeah. So I think that kind of being a generalist is sort of in nowadays, and just having a lot of different, skill sets. I mean, I've even read that having like a liberal arts degree, which I have one of those, was
same
useful.
I'm in music.
All right. Oh yeah, that's right. I read that on your profile that you have a background in music. So yeah, like, going from there to here, that's like, that's also a big jump. So, talk a little bit about that. How did that happen?
Yeah. So, I talked about how I kind of came into L&D from the tech side of things.
Yeah.
And I think that's because that's where I got kind of my first full-time job out of school. So, so I went to school for music. I trained as a classical singer. But even like while I was still in school, I knew that wasn't going to be my full-time career. And I think that's because I don't like this schedule. So I love a 9 to 5. I'm very excited about going home at the end of the day. And when you're a singer, most of your work is in the evenings and weekends. So I discovered, fairly early on, I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not going to make the bulk of my money from this. I am a soprano, Kim. So, and I did sing professionally. Like I sang in a professional church choir for some time. So I did do some professional work in that space, but it was never my full-time job. So when I got out of school, I was looking at different things I could do, and my other interests were always fairly like webby. So I would make websites, and I would, do free tech support for things because, I'm a pushover. And I was like, you know what? I think I would be good at like web development. So I wound up working as a web developer for like just a small web development shop, working on websites for small businesses and those kinds of things. And from there, I discovered the things I liked about working there. Like we had documentation and FAQs and tutorial videos and things like that, like, more of the training stuff. And I really liked doing work on those things. So my next role out of that was as a courseware developer. So not a huge jump, but that's kind of how I came in. And I found, and it's interesting too, I've really paid attention to this in hiring. I found that my liberal arts background and my university degree have actually been extremely useful, not because anybody's asking me music history questions, but because you understand things like, you know, how to build relationships with people because of things like group work. And, you know, the thing you learn in university when, you know, you find out that the way to actually get a better grade in the course is to show up to office hours, like those kinds of things. You know, you learn a little bit about, you know, politics and bureaucracy and, you know, the kinds of things that really can serve you well in a, you know, typical corporate career, are things that you pick up doing a liberal arts degree at a, you know, at a college or university.
Love Toddy's comment here. Sounds like a lot of our journeys. Many of us find our way into tech because we can see the big picture.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, totally agree. Okay. So how about this one? Best compliment you've ever received?
This is going to come back to that impact comment, but one time someone told me a story about something I had trained on at a client site that they put up on the wall. Like I made a comment in a training, like I answered a question, and what I said, they put up on the wall in their office.
Oh.
And I was like, dang. You know, just like crying, you know, because like that's the gold right there.
Oh, that's wonderful, Jenny. That's great to hear.
Yeah, I'm just like, I can't believe I said something that was cool enough that you know, that you were willing to put it up there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's hard to top. That's a good one. It's like, yeah, really, congratulations. That's a nice one. Wow. Okay, so how would your best friend describe what you do for a living?
I think when I'm trying to like distill it down to like the cocktail party, what do you do? I just say I'm a training manager.
Yeah.
So my best friend knows me a bit better than that and would probably go into detail about all the weird, different, cool things I get to do. But when I sort of take it down to, you know, I need to get in and out of this conversation quickly, it's, you know, I'm a training manager. So that means a bunch of different things, but it usually covers a good amount of what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. But if we were to talk to your best friend, I mean, hey, what's Jenny do for a living? What's Jenny do?
She would probably say she answers weird and complicated questions from all kinds of different people all the time.
Yeah.
Because that's also what my best friend uses me for. You know, she'll be like, I'm working on this thing. Can you give me some feedback on it? Or, you know, hey, I need to figure out how to set up, you know, this website over here to do this thing. I'm like, oh yeah, I can help with that. So she would probably say something like, you know, she's the one who can help with that.
Nice. Okay. Wow. That's a good best friend answer. Is there anything that you wish you were really good at? Doesn't even have to be training related, you know, just something.
So I think the thing that I've always aspired to, and I've worked on this at various points, I've always wanted to be better at hospitality. So like, you know, those really amazing facilitators where like nothing is left to chance and everything is perfect and you come in and you're 100% comfortable and you know exactly what to do next. And, you know, I've known people like that at various points in my life where like you come to their house and the drink is ready and you know where to go. And it's like, and I've always wanted to be better at that.
Yeah.
Because like I'm deep down awkward. So, so how I get through it is I just make people laugh because I'm never going to have everything in the right place at the right time. but I would love to be that person who has everything in the right place at the right
time. That's a great answer. You know, and thank you, because that's being very, very honest about it. I do like the fact, you know, the lack of predictability in a situation can be really, really appealing to me personally as well, you know? So, you know, and I do have, like, my sister-in-law is an amazing event producer in San Francisco. And that's the kind of thing you know, when we go to her place for holidays, you know, like we're just being guided through this experience the entire time we have, like, whatever, a Thanksgiving meal. But, you know, and that's fun. But at the same time, it's also fun sometimes just to, like,
let the chaos reign.
Exactly. It's like, who knows when this turkey is going to be ready at some point, you know, and
we will eat, I promise.
I get it. So you talked a little bit about this already, but can you tell us a little bit more about other kinds of jobs you've worked?
Oh gosh. So I've done a lot of different kinds of things. So, and I guess some of this goes back to, so I did immigrate to Canada from the US. So during that process, I worked a bunch of different jobs, you know, just because you kind of have to establish yourself in a new country. But some of the weird different things I did. So I talked about being a web developer. I worked in accounting for a while. I was an accounts receivable clerk. I followed up on invoices. Let's see, other jobs I've done. I painted, so like painting with a roller on a wall. I've done that. I worked in a bar in the kitchen for a year and a half. That was great. I was a music librarian when I was in school. So, you know, I can sort instrumental music at great speed. What other interesting jobs have I done?
You know, like Kim is saying here, you were a music student, so say no more.
Yeah, exactly. Music librarian for a choir. Yep, you know how it is. Having to make those phone calls. Please return your music. I know you like it. Please return it.
And I'm sorry to say, I have no idea what a music librarian even does, and that they even existed. But I guess, you know.
Yeah, so they're the people who manage all the music for an ensemble.
Right.
So all the stuff that people need for rehearsals. For instrumentalists, oftentimes you're like making markings ahead of time. So so I might have to go through all the violin parts and make sure all the down bows are marked, or that kind of thing. And then you're the one who has to collect when the concert is over. So that's probably the hardest part about being a music librarian.
Let me ask you this question. Is there anything that you've taken from that you use from your education as a musician that you've kind of transferred over to L&D?
I think it took me a while to tie some of the connections, but things like preparing for performances, practice, those kinds of things. Those are the things that stick with you and serve you in any career. So knowing that I'm going to get better at the hospitality thing if I practice it. Like, I may never be, you know, a world-class hospitalitarian or whatever that word may be, but I know I can get better at it. So I think that mindset is probably the biggest thing I've taken away.
I love it. That is a great answer. Great answer. I totally agree. I mean, my background in music is completely different. I started out playing in like punk rock bands, so not really any music, you know, librarian needs there. But I totally
But you know, the
agree.
show will go better if you practice.
Right. Exactly. One last question, and then we're going to wrap it up. So, if you weren't an L&D professional, what would you be?
That's a hard one. I would probably be doing something in tech.
Yeah.
And I think the thing I like about L&D is that I can go into all these different fields. So I'm in financial services now, so I know a lot more about insurance than I ever used to. But I think I would be probably working, you know, as a product owner or a web developer or something like that, because I really enjoy that work. So that would probably be where I would be.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm happy where I wound up. So
awesome.
Not sad about it.
That's great to hear. I mean, do you do any music at all anymore?
So right now I'm working on a master's degree because, you know, I'm a glutton for punishment.
Oops, I think you're I have you frozen for.
Oh no, you froze
you're
for me
frozen
too.
for a second. You right after you said glutton for punishment, it ended.
Okay. Oh, wow. So I was singing in a symphonic choir for some time, but I had to step away from it just so that I would have time to work on the degree. But once that's done, I'll probably go back to that.
Nice, nice. I've gone back. Well, I started going back to performance again and was booking gigs, and we had stuff happening on a regular basis. And then, the pandemic happened, but it helped me. It helped me kind of get my head back together and prioritize, like my life again in a way that was more meaningful for me. So I don't know. I don't know if that does the same kind of thing for you, but it definitely helped me to go back to get my head together. But all right, Jenny. Well, thank you so much for sharing your background with us, all your information. This series is really wonderful for me because I love getting to know people, and I don't know about you guys in chat, but it's like it's a lot of fun, and I think that these types of interviews and these types of conversations, it's sort of missing a little bit in our sort of day-to-day online experiences where we're just like getting hammered by having to just learn and attending these like things on screen. These are a lot of fun. So I really appreciate your time and thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you for enduring my technological difficulties at the beginning, but we got there.
No problem. And I'm probably going to hit you up about, accessibility.
Yes.
And maybe some other stuff. Speaking of which, the whole leadership thing, are you like compiling some of this subject matter? Are you like, is this stuff that you internalize and are
actually, absolutely. Yeah. Like my favorite thing about working on any learning stuff is that I get to learn it myself.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh yes, there's some bits I can take away and do. And like, I'm participating in every piece of the program that we're putting together. So I've got my own coaching session coming up next week. So lots of cool stuff going on.
Excellent. Why don't you go ahead and if you can post in chat where people can get a hold of you, I will put it in your profile as well after I post this this video on the website, like in the show notes and stuff. And so it's okay for people to reach out to you, it looks like. And love having this conversation, Jenny. Thank you so much. I'm really, really pleased with being able to talk to you this morning.
Thanks so much. It was really fun.
All right. Awesome. Thanks everybody for popping in. Great to see you. And so we've got more, we've got a ton of TLD cast scheduled coming up and even more that I haven't even posted. So just keep an eye on the schedule and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks everybody. And thanks, Jenny.